let's start. I trained as a meteorologist technician many years ago and went up to Ungava Bay in the Canadian Arctic, where I worked on a weather station, putting up weather balloons and receiving the data from them and recording it. And also, I learned how to classify and recognize clouds and various weather conditions. So I do have a bit of background in skies. And before we start the demo, I'll just show you some examples of work I have done in the past with skies. So let me see if I can find how to share screen here. I believe that's the one. Yeah. So this first one, oh, let's go back. This first one, this is a cumulus cloud here. I don't know what's the matter with this. Cumulus cloud, and the purpose of it is really just to lead you into the rider. I painted this in the Dominican Republic, where horses often trot by in the ocean. And all of my classes on skies, except for one, are going to involve the ground beneath, because the sky doesn't happen in isolation. It's part of a total scenario, part of the overall design. So we'll move on to the next one. This one, I took a photo reference for this laying down in the grass because I wanted to get the contrast of these opposite colors, the yellow flowers and the blue sky. This is Cumulus fractus, and it's at an oblique angle here because of updrafts, which I'll talk about in class. And here I put the flowers with the opposite oblique direction going this way. Excuse me. So in your composition, you go all around. Okay, this was from sketches I did in Mexico at sundown. I think it speaks for itself. Don't have to go into detail. This is cumulonimbus cloud. It's cloud that it's cumulus that is very dense, and it's rising up, and it's raining in the distance, and it's at sundown. Painted from memory of Cape Breton coast, where I lived for many years, and you get a lot of weather just like that. This again is the Dominican Republic and a very active sky. I'm not going to attempt to describe the clouds, but you can see that there's a lot happening. And sometimes when you're painting en plein air, it has more vitality when you don't try and refine it too much. So this is one of those things that was done quite quickly. This again, I think you may have seen this before. I did it as a demo for a previous class in color. And it's the reverse of what you usually see. You usually see the light above the clouds and the shadow underneath. In this case, the light is, it's at sundown, the light is below the horizon here. So the clouds are lit from under and shadow on top. Another example of cumulonimbus. And there's a silver lining in that last one and this one too, and I'll talk about that in our upcoming class. It's just the sun. This is the only one that will, this is part of the class, one of the 4 classes. It's the only one that will be wet in wet. This was my sister, who's a photographer, and we went on a painting trip together. I painted, she photographed. What's always important is to find out the direction of the sun. And as you can see, the sun is from the upper right corner, and it's shining down here, and it's shining just on this side of her. And the cloud again is a very active cloud, which I didn't, this was only painted in about 8 or 10 minutes, so I didn't develop the clouds at all. It's quite easy to get this happen. You just put in a wash and then use a thirsty brush to lift out one side. Trying to move around here, but I haven't. Yeah, it's better. This was another demo that was done for Chesapeake for a pen and watercolor pre-demo. And what's significant about this is the tone, the shadow here, which acts mirror to reflect the ground below it. Because you have to understand that this is, the clouds are made of water, so they do reflect what's below. This is just painted on location, Lewisburg Lighthouse in Cape Breton. Here is a mountain in the mist. It's going to be one of our class projects to paint. And what's significant here is the fog that covers everything up down here. Now what happens? Fog is just stratus at ground level. And it tends to go into sinkholes, or if there's an open body of water that's cooler than the air above it, it'll create moisture. And that's what's happened here. And I'll go into how you see things differently. You can see that these are very clear up close to us because there's no dust in the air. No dust when it's very, the humidity is very high. So there's a veil of fog here which obscures this, but we can see all of this quite clearly because it's very close. So that's it. Let's get into the demo, unless you have any questions you'd like to ask me. Okay, we have enough time to do the demo now, so let's stop the share and switch camera. Okay, here's my paper, and I'm going to be doing I did one this morning just as a practice for what I'll be doing today. So that's what I'm going to be reproducing. Something like it. It never comes out quite like you see on the previous painting. And why would it? You know, it's different painting.
What type of blue are you using?
That's a combination of ultramarine and cobalt.
Thank you.
And I'm using a Chinese calligraphy, as you can see. It's a fairly big one.
Gary, are you painting on dry paper?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. If I had wetted this, I couldn't get the same dry brush effects that I'm going for right now. That doesn't mean I can't charge it, because I do want to get the sky darker than this at the top. Oh, something I should have done at the very start. Pardon me, I'm gonna do it right now. Gonna give myself a horizon line. Because I'm putting the ocean below this and it will make it easier if.
What is the difference between putting a tape or a line with a pencil?
The tape will prevent the paint from coming down any further.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Is that burnt sienna?
Oh, that's Rocky.
Raw sienna, okay.
You're in the right family.
What colors did you mix to get that darker cloud?
Burnt sienna and cobalt blue.
Thank you. So that put the clouds backward, I mean farther behind, or?
You know what? I'm not very good at painting and talking at the same time.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. But I apologize. I wish I could. My wife can, but I think it's a male shortcoming that I can only focus on one thing at a time. I mean, I can stop and talk, but I can't paint and talk. So since there's only a half hour to get this done, and actually less than that, I'll just try and zip through it. And we'll have time for questions, I hope, at the end. I'm sure you're going to ask me about that. I just put in a little bit of cadmium red light. And here I'm just softening the edges. Okay, watercolor isn't done until it's dry. So we're going to just leave that and it will continue to develop. And take this off now. And as I showed you before, it's kite surfers. So we're going to get some of them in there.
Is the sun coming from the left-hand corner?
Not from up here, from the right hand. From this direction up here.
Oh, from upper right, okay.
Good question.
What colors are you using for the water?
I'm not sure now. I think it's, you know, I just went into a pool on my, in here, and I think it's mostly blue. I think it's mostly probably cerulean blue, or excuse me, cobalt. Darken that up now. Ultramarine and yellow ochre.
Gary have 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good. Okay, I'm adding a bit. This is more ultramarine, and I've added some cadmium yellow light. And here we have the crashing surf. I'm gonna charge that with a bit more ultramarine blue. Get a bit darker, more dramatic. It will not be nearly as dark as this when it's dried. Okay, so there's our water. And I think we're going to put in the kites before we do the surfers. It's a matter always of what's wet, because you can't paint next to it because it'll get absorbed. So I believe this is still pretty damp. I'm just going to quickly dry it. I guess I don't need it. It's not really- This is a synthetic detail brush. Trying to think of where I'll put my main kite. I can put it over here. I don't want to put it right in the middle. Kites appear smaller as they're further away and lower on the horizon, of course. Okay, I think that does it for the kites. This is kind of far off to the side here, but I stupidly didn't leave enough white cloud to put it up against. I want to put against a cloud rather than the blue sky. So that's where it is. Okay, now let's get a couple of kite surfers in there. And they are so small that you have to really look hard to see them. Right here. There's always a wake behind their surfboard, so I'm putting it where there's a wake I can use, and of course they're always at an angle. The paper's still kind of wet. I think we're just about close to being done. So I'll show you how it looked with a mat. And I believe we got 2 minutes left. So any questions? In my class, I'll be explaining the different kinds of clouds, what to look for, how to paint them, and how they can be used as design elements. And that's it. So who has questions?
Hi, what kind of paper you are using?
This is Arches, 140 pounds rough.
Okay, thank you.
I usually work with rough even when I'm doing portraits. I just like the way the paint sits on the top, and it's much better for dry brush too. The brushes that I am using, this is a calligraphy brush. I believe it's goat hair, called Solo Calligraphy. I got it from Jackson's Art in England.
What size is that?
Size? Well, there's no size given, but it's pretty big and it splays out nicely. Like I can put it next to some other brushes to give you an idea. This is a size 16 here.
Oh, yes, thank you.
That's it. And it's about the same as that. This is a squirrel synthetic black silver velvet that I use a lot. But I really like the way you can splay it out and do a lot of things with it, you know.
What was the name of the brush again? The maker?
It's called a Solo, but it doesn't give the maker. I believe I got this because I got it some time ago. I think I got it from Jackson's Art
Okay.
in England. That's also where I got my paper shipped because I get Saunders water for paper in rough, which it's really hard to get in Canada. But I don't know, maybe you have an easier time with it in the States.
Actually, I have that brush.
I'm sorry?
I have that kind of brush.
You do have this kind of a brush, yeah?
Yeah. Actually, that's a Chinese brush. I'm doing Chinese brush painting.
It's a Chinese brush. Where did you get your?
Yeah, I got from China. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, actually, that is a combination. It's a gold and whistle.
Go to. Oh, okay.
So it's a very good brush. Yeah.
Yeah. I have some other cheaper calligraphy brushes like this one, but
Yeah.
the problem with them is that the bristles fall out very easily.
Yeah, well, that's cheaper.
It's cheap. It's only about 10 or 12 bucks. But
Yeah.
when you squeeze water out, because I often squeeze water out like this, you got to be careful not to pull it.
Yeah. Oh,
I had a big Chinese calligraphy brush that cost me 25 bucks, and I destroyed it just because I pulled it a little too hard.
yeah.
Well,
It's a beautiful painting.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I
It's
think
beautiful.
you'll have fun with clouds. The thing about clouds is that there's so much possibilities with them. And you never, if you're outside doing plein air, you never try and paint the clouds as you see them. What you look for is the characteristics, the general characteristics of them, because they're not going to stay the same. They're going to keep moving. So you just have to see what the character is of them and then draw the character, not the individual cloud. Well, that went by pretty fast. I kind of rushed through it. I would have liked to take it a little more time, but
You certainly know your clouds.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Great.
I spent
Yeah, I love your picture. It's beautiful.
I spent 18 months in the Arctic on a weather station,
Oh, beautiful.
putting up weather balloons and stuff like that.
But that was interesting.
Now,
Mhm.
the class, if you're interested in taking the class, it starts this Monday. not
I'm
sure.
signed up.
You have an email address?
Well, you got to sign up through Chesapeake.
Oh, okay.
So go to Chesapeake, and you must have been to Chesapeake to get the
The Zoom.
this demo, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you go there, you can register, and I'm going to change some of the paintings that are in the supply list. One of them that I will change is this Mountain in the Mist, which I've done a better one. The one that I put on was just a rough, just to get it there. But this is a more carefully done one. I think
Okay,
that's,
Gary, the time is up.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Gary.
you.
See you
Thank you,
Monday.
Gary.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. That was beautiful.